This is The Brief on Newsfirst Digital.
A very good evening and welcome to The Brief at 7 on Newsfirst Digital, Sri Lanka's first ever online news bulletin. I'm Ramesh, Irugalbandara.
A very good evening to all our viewers. I'm Azra, Assan. Let's now take a look at the top stories. Police fired tear gas and water cannons at the protesting university students today.
The protest march was organized by the Inter-University Students' Federation against CITEM. It commenced from the University of Visual and Performing Arts and made its way towards Parliament. However, as the protesters approached the Parliament roundabout, the police attempted to stop them. The government said openly that they would abolish CITEM. However, they are yet to issue the gazette in this regard. This is an issue. In this backdrop, they bring in the Kotalawal Defence University Bill and they attempt to sell education. We will never agree to any policy which auctions education.
The trade union action launched by postal workers entered its 9th consecutive day today. The Minister of Postal Services and his Ministry Secretary held a media briefing today and told the media that a solution is close at hand. However, the trade unions seem to have a different opinion. Let's listen to what they had to say.
Some people have reported to work today. I believe that the issue will be resolved by tomorrow. We will amend the required documents over the next 2 weeks. We will be submitting these amendments to the cabinet as well. I believe it will solve most of the issues in the postal department. If this trade union action continues, the people will continue to be affected, while on the other hand, the postal department will be affected because there are plenty of other alternatives like private courier services. We cannot implement hasty decisions. We held discussions yesterday and they were very successful. We managed to resolve some of the major issues. I call on our workers to report back to work. However, the trade unions seem to have a different outlook on the discussions as they announced today that they will be launching a fast from tomorrow. Convener of the Joint Postal Trade Union Collective, Irugalbandara, noted that they have been forced to step up their trade union campaign as the authorities have failed to meet their demands. He noted that steps are being taken to get the support of other trade unions outside the postal department as well.
Over the past 2 years, the Sri Lankan diplomatic service was under the spotlight because they produced 2 culprits who are currently on the run. A former ambassador to Russia, Udayanga Viratunga, and former ambassador to the United States of America, Jaliya Vikramatunga. These 2 are wanted by court at the moment. Again, the diplomatic service is once again in the spotlight, this time because of a lack of ambassadors and high commissioners being posted to a number of key countries, including the United States and Russia. This in turn impacts the amount of work that our embassies and high commissions can do on behalf of Sri Lanka. Auditor General Gamini Vijayasinghe, speaking at a meeting in Parliament yesterday, expressed these views on the Sri Lankan diplomatic service.
මුළු රටම පිළිගන්නවා ඩිප්ලොමැටික් සර්වේ එක අකාර්යක්ෂමයි කියලා.
The entire country accepts that the diplomatic service is not efficient. This is not because of financial allocations. This is because of their poor performance. What does the country expect from the diplomatic service? To build this country's image? But what have they done? If it is to develop tourism, how much have they done? If they hope to promote trade, how much trade have they facilitated? There are no statistics or inquiries into this. The country spent 8.3 billion rupees in 2017 alone in order to maintain the embassies. But what has the country gained through this expense? No one can provide a proper response because there is no proper plan in place.
ඒ සඳහා වැඩපිළිවෙලක් ඇත්ත වශයෙන්ම සකස් වෙලා නැහැ.
Well, the Auditor General also spoke about fraud and corruption in the state sector.
ලංකාවේ රාජ්‍ය සේවයේ බැඳුම් කර වගේ සිද්ධීම්.
There are plenty of cases like the bond scam in Sri Lanka state service. For example, the coal issue or the issues in importation of rice. We have calculated that the country suffered a loss of 15 billion rupees. However, none of this is revealed as yet. The country has assets which are worth billions and trillions which are not being utilized. The best example is the education department. Even today, buildings are being built. The number of students is declining. My school is the perfect example. When I was in school, there were about 1,500 students. However, there are only 500 now. But whenever you go to a school, you see new buildings under construction. Why do they need so many buildings? They keep allocating resources because it is more profitable for certain people. The Ministry of Health has plenty of equipment which are unused, but today these equipment are outdated. In some cases, machines have been provided to hospitals which do not have electricity connections. Some state institutes have been turned into companies with the aim of removing the auditing process from the purview of the Auditor General. Through this, they have committed numerous acts of fraud and corruption. The best example is the CEB, which has 20 companies under its purview. From among these companies, the Auditor General receives documents from about 2 or 3. There are weaknesses even in the 19th Amendment. Another example is Sri Lanka Telecom. The government holds 50% of its shares. A further 2% is owned by the BOC and People's Bank. However, the Auditor General does not have the authority to audit this company because the 19th Amendment didn't include clauses to handle indirect ownership. There are hundreds of government-owned companies similar to this. Another good example is the coal company, which is under the CEB. It is clear that there were continuous malpractices. We have handed in the necessary audit reports, but they have not been taken up for discussion. We do not know the reason for this.
විගන්න වාර්තාව අපි ඉදිරිපත් කළා දිනවා නමුත් අද වෙනකන් ඒ සාකච්ඡාවට නමුත් අරගත්තේ බඳුන් කරලා නැහැ. ඒවට හේතුව ඉතින්
Economists believe that Sri Lankans will have to pay a sum of 165 rupees for an American dollar by the end of the year. Now, according to the latest exchange rates by the central bank, the selling rate for a US dollar stood just above 161 rupees. The Sri Lankan rupee has depreciated by 5.44% over the last 6 months. Professor Sirumala Aberatna of the Columbia University expressed these views regarding the current exchange rates of the country. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Exchange rate has been depreciating against the foreign currencies such as the dollars. In order to stabilize this, what we need is to address the fundamental policy and political issues affecting our business environment, affecting our investment. In fact, why investors don't want to bring money to invest in this country, why our exports have not been performing that well, these are the issues that we need to address. In fact, long-term depreciation of the exchange rate for a developing country is not a very usual phenomena that we have seen. In fact, for most of the successful export-oriented countries, it has been the other way around. The role of the central bank is not the one that is important. In fact, our policies and politics, these are the two areas which are fundamentally important in order to stabilize the exchange rate.
In news overseas, the Trump administration has defended its hardline immigration policy at the US-Mexican border as opposition grew over the separation of immigrant parents and their children.
Department of Homeland Security Secretary Christian Nielsen, appointed by Trump, told reporters at a White House briefing that the administration was only strictly enforcing the law. The outcry over the detained children resulted from the Trump administration's zero-tolerance immigration policy, which provides for the arrests of all adults caught trying to enter the United States illegally, including those seeking asylum. While parents are held in jail, their children are sent to separate detention facilities, some in remote locations. According to government figures, almost 52,000 people were caught trying to cross the southern border illegally in May.
The brother-in-law of Spain's king turned himself into authorities yesterday to serve nearly 6 years in jail for crimes including tax fraud and embezzlement.
Iñaki Urdangarin signed himself into the Briva prison in Avila at around 8 a.m. He had been given a 5-day deadline last Tuesday to appear at a penal institution of his choosing for the 5-year, 10-month sentence. The 162-cell, mostly women prison has a small separate area for men and was chosen for its proximity to Madrid to ease visits by his wife, Princess Cristina, who is the sister of King Felipe VI. Urdangarin was found guilty in February last year of using royal connections to win public contracts to put on events through his non-profit organization, the News Foundation. He then overcharged for the events and hid millions of euros in proceeds abroad. Princess Cristina, who lives in Geneva with their 4 children, was acquitted of being an accessory to tax fraud after a year-long trial of 18 defendants in the probe of the charity run by her husband. Cristina was the first member of the Spanish royal family ever to stand in a dock.
Well, many parents usually have concerns about the amount of video games that their children play. Well, these parents have a new argument for their children, as the addiction of video games has been officially classified as a mental health disorder by the World Health Organization.
The WHO's International Classification of Diseases, ICD, a reference Bible of recognized and diagnosable diseases, describes addiction to digital and video gaming as a pattern of persistent or recurrent gaming behavior that becomes so extensive it takes precedence over other life interests. The WHO's expert on mental health and substance abuse, Shekhar Saxena, said an addicted gamer loses control over the gaming and ignores other essential activities like sleep, eating, and taking part in education or work. He stressed that only a small minority of people who play digital and video games would develop a problem, but said recognition of early warning signs may help prevent it. Responding to the decision to including gaming addiction, the Video Games Coalition and industry lobby groups said their products were enjoyed safely and sensibly by more than 2 billion people worldwide across all kinds of genres, devices and platforms. It added that educational, therapeutic and recreational value of games was well founded and widely recognized and urged the WHO to reconsider. The updated ICD is scheduled to be presented to the WHO member states at their annual World Health Assembly in May 2019 for adoption in January 2022.
And that's a wrap of the brief at 7 for News First Digital. Don't forget to send in your views and thoughts and sound off on the comment section below on the contents that were aired tonight. For News First Digital, I'm Ramesh Irugalbandara.
And I'm Azra Assan. Take care and good night.
This is the brief on News First Digital.